We all collectively understood that quantum computing was happening, that it was progressing, but it was a retreat with the board, the trustees, and the senior leadership of RPI that we held. Curtis was there, my board chair, John Kelly, who led the quantum computing developments at IBM for almost a decade. And just the kind of conversations that happen when you're stepping away from the university and trying to reflect on where you're going. I give Curtis and John a lot of credit, because they catalyzed the conversation about what are we going to do and what if we put a quantum computer on the campus?
So exciting to be a part of this journey and to fund this different technology that is coming to campus, that there was no way I could say no to this opportunity. And also, another sort of selfish thing is when something this big happens, I'd like to see it happen in my lifetime. I don't want to donate money after I die and then wish good luck.
RPI is, I think, very unique in higher education. The first thing you obviously point to is it's the first engineering school in the country. And this is our, bicentennial. But if you look at its culture and the kind of education and the people that go into it as students and come out of it as graduates, there's something special about it.
Just the excitement of the kids looking at this quantum computer coming to campus, I could see myself in those kids' eyes where they're just saying, it's my computer, I get to go do what I want with it. I get to go conquer the world and change it for the better. I get to invent the next generation of computers.
The original idea for a quantum club kind of came around in the spring before the quantum computer actually got announced, funnily enough. I was just really interested in quantum computing at the time, and I knew that there were other people at RPI interested, but it felt like there was no space that we could all gather and discuss our interests and discuss the progress we made. And I'm really a believer in, independent study, learning, constantly growing and teaching yourself things. But I'm also of the belief that having others to do that with helps a lot.
I really like the environment that Quantum Computing Club has. It's very open to newcomers. We don't have a lot of people who actually do know about quantum computing. And so everyone is very willing to teach newer members.
We have computer scientists, physicists, mathematicians, even electrical engineers. And we also have people from outside those fields who just want to see how quantum can be applied to their field. We have a lot of economists and finance-interested people who are interested in the applications of quantum in a finance-focused way.
There's so many fields from which you can enter. And at the time, I happened to be involved in a research project that was in nuclear. And so I realized that it was applicable to nuclear. And so I kind of got into that on my own. And that is the field that currently interests me.
We also have been lately pushing for more events and special meetings, usually featuring, say, a professor from at RPI or even outside RPI who can talk about an area of interest that they have a lot of expertise in.
We're all just starting out. I think that is what makes it extremely exciting and, a really great career option as well.
I've had the good fortune of knowing, President Schmidt for 25 years, right? So when I was, in grad school at MIT, he was in the faculty there, and he was, one of the foremost faculty of MEMS, right, on microelectromechanical systems. And, and early on, he was my academic, part of my academic advisor there and giving advice. So I was always inspired by, not only, his visionary element of what was happening in technology, but also his human qualities, right? And he was always so focused on students and their education. And
Dario and I were both at MIT at the same time. I was a faculty member running one of the larger laboratories there. He was completing his doctoral degree with another faculty member. So I knew him back then, and we've been in touch throughout the years. So leaving that retreat in March, we agreed that I would talk to Dario and see if he'd be willing to put an IBM quantum computer on a university campus for the first time.
we had a fun moment when he called me one day and he says, hey, can we have dinner, later this week? It's like, it's a little bit tight. He's like, how about on Sunday? Can you do it on Sunday? It's like, okay, yeah, let's meet on Sunday. And we sat down at a restaurant here in Northern Westchester, and it was like the genesis of the discussing of the possibilities of bringing a quantum computer to RPI.
So I drove down to Yorktown Heights. We had a lovely dinner, and happily by the end of the dinner, we reached an agreement that we would place an IBM's quantum computer on the RPI campus.
IBM and Rensselaer have had a long collaboration through history. I came to Rensselaer because of the IBM 360 3033 computer. And we've done a lot together, like the supercomputer. It's the fastest computer at a private university, help funded by the state of New York. And now we basically are looking at what is the next generation. And it just became a natural fit for Rensselaer and IBM to work together on this project as well.
So why put all this in the Voorhees Computing Center? It's a 100-year-old building, a former chapel to a convent. You could put it in one of our shiny new buildings instead. It turns out that the utilities in that building are actually very strong. The cooling loop for water, the UPS system, the backup generator, because of the data center that's already there. It turns out the site that we picked for things inside of that room, inside of that building, has some interesting juxtaposition with the old and the new, religious and technology.
The IBM System 1 quantum computer is a little different. It is a visual statement piece by IBM. This is not the boring box sitting in a back room. This thing is a visual statement. It's futuristic, it's striking, it glows. It's just not unique, it's fitting.
It is an attraction point to RPI, and it really does symbolize where RPI is going with IBM and how we're leading the future.
We had the opportunity to take the IBM's Qiskit Summer School, and it was a 2-week program, I believe. It was pretty challenging. Needed to have a lot of background in linear algebra and probably some quantum mechanics.
The Qiskit bootcamp was useful in both polishing up some skills with regard to quantum computing coding, and also learning some new stuff about other problems that I'm not actively working on.
There's a huge interest in quantum computing on campus right now. I attended one of the early student events, and the students were crazy to know about what's going on. They are so excited to learn about quantum and to have the quantum system here at RPI.
I think a misunderstanding a lot of people make is they hear, quantum computing and they're like, oh, I need to be a physics and computer science and mathematician and all these things to even grasp this. But I think it's pretty graspable at a basic level for people who don't have exposure to all those different fields.
All of our students will have access to the quantum computer. We're very excited about getting them, undergrads, graduates, PhD students, everybody on board on the system.
At IBM, we have dedicated the last several years, actually the last several decades, to moving quantum computing out of the lab and into the hands of our global ecosystem, who will be critical in making the promise of quantum computing a reality. Housing an IBM quantum system at a university, especially one as rich in creativity and scientific knowledge as RPI, will serve as a cornerstone of pushing the boundaries of quantum computing into the next level.
We are so grateful to IBM for the major investment it has made in Yorktown Heights and Poughkeepsie in research and manufacturing for quantum computing. Now, RPI faculty and students can explore quantum computing's most promising potential applications in Troy, New York. New York's Hudson River Valley has the potential to become Quantum Valley. It's exciting to think about the new research discoveries that will come from this region, but also the new enterprises that can be created as quantum computing enables new businesses and industries.
Through my career, I've actually tried many different things in the philanthropy world. And I ultimately concluded the best usage of your money is actually in education, because you get a 10-to-1 return on your money. I just hope that every discipline, every department at Rensselaer can come up with something that is so unique that we had never ever thought of before.
So certainly there's challenges of taking a building that's almost 100 years old and putting this type of technology in it. And so as we come up with issues, people have worked their way through it. So initially, we were concerned about two things in putting a quantum computer in: temperature and vibration. Temperature is pretty much controlled within the cryostat, but vibration is really a result of what's the environment around it.
One of the unknowns was vibration. How springy was that building? Because a quantum computer cannot handle vibration. So we did some instrumentation for about a week. As it turns out, that floor was very damp, which is good. No vibration, or very little vibration would transmit. That was excellent. But a related challenge was just the load, the static load. It weighs about 5 tons, and we had no drawings, engineering drawings, to indicate how well reinforced it was, how strong was the concrete, etc. So that became a primary challenge, which we overcame by building a platform, if you will, above the floor, running columns from this platform all the way down through the basement of the VCC, through the raised floor, down to a massive footing that we placed in the ground. The heart of the quantum computer is something that's referred to as the cryostat. A cryostat is basically a series of concentric containers that get much colder as you go in and much colder as you go down. So this cryostat, which contains something that's called a chandelier, looks like an upside-down tower. In our computer, we will never see that chandelier. It's housed within all these cans that form the cryostat, and the cryostat is then suspended within the vitrine, which is what we call the computer itself. The cryostat delivery date was a big deal. To us, it marked a significant milestone. Okay, from here, we're actually making this thing operate.
When I saw the cryostat being delivered, I thought, this is it. This is real. We're here. And I was really excited.
Cryostat is basically a chamber in which you can control the temperature of your sample. For example, the quantum chip.
So the cold in the quantum computer is there because you don't want any thermal interference with the qubits. So the qubits are spin states, and they must be isolated as much as possible from the environment for us to use them as a computational bit.
It's maintained at such a cold temperature, much, much colder than outer space. By getting the quantum chip that cold allows for manipulation and observation of the components that make up a qubit. I've been asked a number of times about the top challenges. So the IBM Quantum System 1 is housed within a glass housing. It's basically a large glass cube, 10 foot by 10 foot by 10 foot. And the glass that makes up the 4 walls and the top of that is very special glass. There's only 2 manufacturers in the world, I understand, that could produce this museum quality glass. This glass was sourced on a factory in Milan, Italy. Quite a journey just to get the glass here from Italy. They had to get into the VCC. Turns out it doesn't have door openings big enough to get a 10-foot wide plus a couple more inches in. We ended up removing a 11-foot high window 40 feet off the ground and used cranes to move those 5 pieces of glass into the chapel.
We had folks lined up all around upstairs on the mezzanine level of the VCC watching this operation. and there was not a lot of room for error.
That was pretty challenging, but all that worked, and it worked because the right people came together to think about the problem, work their way through the problem, and then execute.
There was originally a poll sent out, or like a Google form, for people to put names, and then the top 3 names of those were selected. And then out of those, one day in the union, they kind of just brought out all the ice cream for everyone to try and then vote on the name, and the name ended up being Quantum Freeze.
It just tastes like pretty good, like sweet, just like an ice cream.
It reminds me of like cotton candy, maybe. Like I feel like this is something I'd taste at like a carnival or something.
I think the taste is very nice, but the thing I like the most is the little like bits in it.
I think the ice cream is pretty cold. I don't think you could house a quantum computer in this ice cream.
This ice cream is like just frozen, so that would be like 0 degrees Celsius. The cryostat is 0 degrees Kelvin, so that's quite a long way to go.
I think if I liked ice cream as cold as the cryostat, I would probably be stuck to it. This tastes pretty good, so I can't say that would be a bad thing necessarily.
If the ice cream was that cold, I think my tongue would fall off.
I don't really like cones. I went for a pint.
What our students help bring to this enterprise is a lack of preconceptions. It takes young minds to question the status quo and to come up with new ideas and new directions.
Only in a research environment are we able to do that. We have computer scientists and engineers and architects, and we have artists that all need to figure out and learn together. And that togetherness at RPI, that interdisciplinary nature, is the secret sauce of RPI. And now put a quantum computer on top of that, and the world is ours.
We're at a very special point in time now because RPI actually has both. It has the high-performance computing platform as well as the quantum machine. And in order to leverage the computational advantage of quantum computing, in the near future, we have to use both.
The students that will train here, that will be training on quantum computers, will be basically the pioneers.
It will attract researchers who want to have access to the quantum computer because they want to develop applications and software. It will attract students because they know that that's the future.
Yeah, I decided to stay at RPI because we're getting the quantum computer, and it would be a fantastic facility to use to further my research.
Normally, a project of this magnitude takes years to happen, and we've gone from conception to reality in just a year. And in scientific terms, that's like going to 0 to 60 in just a few seconds.
IBM will tell you now that this is the fastest installation of this system that they've ever done. And a lot of that is due to the quality of work here and workers here at Rensselaer working with the people from IBM.
Our experimental machine shop was critical at least a dozen times in quickly turning around changes to components for IBM.
Everybody on this team loves to solve problems. They don't necessarily like the problems, but they like solving problems.
It's been extraordinary teamwork to make this project happen so quickly.
What it means is to remain at the forefront of this long journey of the story of computation and to allow a whole new generation of students and faculty to imagine a new way of representing information, a new way of computing.
This is an inflection point for RPI with respect to the next 200 years or even the next 50 years. When you think about quantum computing, you have to realize that it's not just an incremental change to classical computing, it is a completely different mindset and different approach.
It's an incredibly bold initiative, but we will take advantage of it, and we will make sure that RPI is on everybody's lips when it comes to the field of quantum computing.
I think the nation needs universities like RPI to survive and thrive. And so part of what's exciting about this moment is, what is our model for the future? How do we want to operate as things evolve? As a nation, we struggle with economic divides, with political divides. And in a lot of ways, some of that has to do with the concentration of wealth that's occurred over the past 40 years. We're not going to survive by superstar cities, a set of cities on either coast that are really driving economic development. There are certain metropolitan areas that are basically poised to grow and to contribute to the economic growth of the nation. And I think the capital region, where RPI sits, is one of those regions. And so that makes it a very interesting opportunity, which is, how do we as a region, with RPI as a key participant in that, how do we frame our future in a way in which 40 years from now, the economic vibrancy of this region is phenomenal and is contributing to a healthier, more balanced nation.